Hi, my name is Mayush. I am the Lebanese Soul Diva. They call me LSD. And today I'm going to be talking about why I reverted to Islam. Before I start, I just want to take a moment of silence to pray for the people of Gaza. Gaza is in the genocide taking place in Palestine. Is a huge part of why I reverted to Islam, because I saw how Islam allowed the people of Palestine to remain so steadfast and how their faith did not waver, even though they have been subject to the worst horrors and the worst atrocities that this dunya is capable of. And so I want to take a moment of silence to pray for them. Okay, so I am going to also be linking a few of different charity organizations that I have been donating to for Gaza, and a few of the GoFundMe pages that I've mostly just found on TikTok of people to donate to. So if you are able, anything and everything helps to help our brothers, our Muslim brothers and sisters in Palestine. May God just remain with them. I know that God is with them throughout this whole genocide, and of course the ceasefire deal has been broken and Israel has resumed its genocide on the people of Gaza. So keep them in our prayers, and yes, also please pray for me to get through this episode, because for some reason it has not been easy to tell this story and everything that brought me to Palestine. Also, please like this video and subscribe to my channel and share this with a friend if they are thinking about reverting to Islam or thinking about coming into religion at all. I will be talking about Christianity pretty extensively on this episode, because it was Christianity that initially saved me from the world and that ultimately healed me and then led me to Islam. So without further ado, again, my name is Mayush. I'm the Lebanese Soul Diva. They call me LSD. I don't take drugs, okay? I just try to elevate through God and through life. So yeah, and without further ado, I will talk about my upbringing. So in my upbringing, I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago to Lebanese immigrants, and I had a relatively agnostic upbringing. My parents raised in Lebanon. My mom was a Muslim woman. Her family were very, very devout Shia Muslims, and my father was raised to pretty religious Greek Orthodox Christians in Lebanon. And my mom was raised on the south of Lebanon but had to flee, and due to Israel bombing and destroying her home, flee to Beirut. So was raised the second part of her life in Beirut, and then my dad was raised in Beirut for most of his life, and they met at American University of Beirut. They were both studying medicine, and they met and then fled Lebanon ultimately due to the religious sectarianism. in Lebanon, and both went to America and started dating. They were friends at AUB, and then they started dating in America. And ultimately, my mom converted to Christianity to marry my father and was baptized, and then they got married and then moved to Chicago, and that's when they had my brother in Baltimore where they were initially living, and then they had me. I was born and raised in Hyde Park on the south side of Chicago. Shout out to Hyde Park, the good part of the hood. That's a Vic Mensa lyric. Yeah, so I was born and raised in Chicago, which I love Chicago. I rep Chicago so hard, 773 all day. So Chicago is really, really cool. The South Side specifically, because it's so hood, but such a melting pot as well. Hyde Park specifically is kind of the neighborhood where Obama's from. His kids went to my school. It's a very Obama, like I grew up in a very Obama neighborhood, okay? Everyone's obsessed with Obama. Everyone knows Obama. Everyone is like, oh, Obama this, Obama that. So I grew up like in that neighborhood. So there was a lot of Black people, a lot of Jewish people, and a lot of Christians. A lot of white people, but like a lot of Black people. Not really much in between. There was a couple brown people, like me and my family. So growing up, my family was pretty agnostic, and we kind of just had to blend and assimilate. Like, my parents are assimilation masters. If they could win an award for being good at assimilating, they would win it. Like, it would be them. They would receive it. So my parents assimilated and agnostic, you know, like we weren't really gonna be religious because that would kind of conflict with the liberalness of everything. So my dad was very embodied in Christianity. He's a very Christ-like man. And my mom was just like, fuck religion. I'm so over religion. Religion is why I had to leave my beloved Lebanon. So I don't think she was ever really about religion or Islam even growing up. She said she never fasted. She was like, I did suhoor and iftar. I didn't fast. I didn't pray. She was like, not about it. It was not for her. So yeah, growing up in Chicago, I didn't really feel too rooted in personal identity or Arab identity or any type of identity. Like, I just didn't have really that, which was really hard for me. I really, really strongly identified with Black people on the south side of Chicago. I just really took to Black culture and like Black music and food and everything so much. Like, it just heavily influenced me. Of course, I wasn't really embraced by that culture at all. You know, I was still white passing Arab Christian, technically woman. So my identity, there were some people that were like, oh, you're Arab, we're the same in a lot of ways, but really I just was out here myself as an individual. No identity, no community that I resonated with. So fast forward to high school. God help me. Basically, I entered high school. The main thing that I would characterize high school was drinking, drugs, and sex, okay? So from the time I turned 13, basically, like when I entered high school, like I was pretty down to drink and smoke weed and do nitrous balloons while listening to The Weeknd, like while listening to House of Balloons. That was like my vibe. Like, that was like my high school, like for 4 years. My life, like drinking, getting wasted, blacking out. Astaghfirullah. And just like, yeah, like that was my life. Like I did that. There was no one to stop me. I don't know if my parents knew. They didn't not know, but like they didn't know at the same time. Like, my parents were just, I don't know. Like, they were like really good parents. And I don't know, like it just wasn't that serious. None of it was that serious. I don't think that they really thought that drinking was that serious, honestly. Like, they thought smoking weed was really serious. So like if I smoked weed, like my mom would be so pissed at me if I came home like bloodshot eyes. You know what I mean? She'd be like she would be pissed. But if I was like wasted, like, yeah, like they'd be like, I'd get like, I remember there was this one time where I like was so drunk I had to call someone to pick me up from a concert, and I like came home And I was just like talking shit to my dad. I don't know what I was saying, but I was wasted, like disrespecting that man. I just remember like he just like smacked me, and then I just like fell asleep. And then I don't know, I woke up the next day and he like left milk and cookies for me. So, I got disciplined, but it was not that serious. Like, I deserve to be hit. Like, don't mistake this for being like my parents were abusive, because they were not abusive at all. Like, they were the best parents. So sex, which is like, I think probably like the biggest pain point. So I was like doing the drugs and the drinking, but I wasn't doing the hooking up. Like, that was the one thing where I was like, I physically can't do that. Like, that's not right. Hookup culture. When I turned 13, my friends were like, okay, time to like pop that pussy, time to lose your virginity, time to collect as many bodies. Like, let's get these bodies. Like, let's get it in, basically. And that was the one thing where I was just like, no, I can't do that. What is this? Like, this isn't the fairy tale that I was promised. This isn't Aladdin. These men in my school that you want me to lay down with, like, they're not Aladdin. This isn't my prince. Like, this isn't my fairy tale. I can't do that. Like, I physically was uninterested and I was incapable. But at the same time, I didn't have godly values. I didn't understand like the woman's role and the woman's worth based on God. So I really thought that like what my friends were telling me would give me worth was the truth. So I knew I couldn't lay down with a man that wasn't my husband, like subconsciously, but like consciously, I thought that I was crazy, that I was a prude, that I was a loser, and that there was something wrong with me for being unable to sexually perform. So that was really hard, and like that started wearing on my self-esteem from the time about I entered high school, because the messaging was just increasingly like, you need to have sex, you need to have sex. My friends were having sex, my friends were like doing all the sex stuff, and I was just like not. And like I would like fall in love with these boys in like this really deep, intense way, and they like wouldn't love me back, and I would just kind of be like this girl that was like, okay, my fairy tale is not happening. I would just be rejected a lot, basically, because I would have these like crazy high standards for love. Like, I wanted deep love. But at the same time, like, I was kind of settling and it just wasn't working. Like, my love life was a huge source of pain for me. And it was really, really painful. So pain, high school was a mess. Fast forward to college, and it was kind of more of the same. I wasn't really drinking as much. I had gotten to the point where I was not really doing drinking anymore. I was like still smoking a considerable amount, but I was not really drinking. I wasn't getting drunk. I would host a lot of parties in New York City. I had a fake ID, and I would host these amazing parties, honestly. No regrets there. It's not even an astaghfirullah situation, because I was like not doing anything haram. I was just hosting these epic parties in these epic clubs in New York City. And like, yes, I was underage, but oh my God, those parties were so fun and so epic. And at that point, I had already embraced sobriety for the most part, learned how to enjoy myself sober. So that was very cool. Like, college was cool. Moving to New York City for college, getting into Tisch School of the Arts at NYU was literally the best thing that had happened to me up till that point. Like I said, high school was like very tumultuous and very hard. You know, I was just kind of a burnout, and like it was fun. I discovered photography, my passion for photography in high school, which then led me to New York University, which was just the biggest blessing in my life. New York City, I was like a fish in water. Life was amazing. But like my love, the like love piece, and like I had found so much purpose when I moved to New York to occupy my mind. But like anytime still I would attempt love, like I would get like broken. It would shatter me. It was never what I needed it to be. And I didn't have the standards or like the knowledge to even really articulate what saving yourself for marriage was, and like why that was so justified. Like, I did not understand that concept at all. girls that grew up Muslim or Christian, it was such a intrinsic understanding that you pursue purity. Like that was such a crucial part of religion, I feel like. And that just wasn't in my vocabulary, wasn't in my consciousness whatsoever. I was pursuing purity, but I didn't know why. So I was kind of just gaslighting myself into being like, you're a freak for pursuing purity. But I would still try to have these haram relationships anyway, because I just hoped somehow, I don't know, wanted to be loved more than anything. I wanted love and I wanted protection, and like I wanted like a king. So anyway, I was in college, and my senior year, I ended up taking this class called the Afro-Arab World, something like the making of an Afro-Arab political imaginary, which is basically the unseen correlation between Black communities, specifically in America, and Arab and Muslim communities globally. And the whole class was basically dedicated to talking about what Arabs and Black Americans have in common, which was so cool because, like I said, growing up on the south side of Chicago, the only community that I really resonated with was the Black community, but I didn't feel like they resonated with me in return or embraced me in return. But suddenly I was like in this class learning about Muhammad Ali, learning about Malcolm X, and learning about people like Mos Def and all of these people in hip hop randomly that embraced Islam and like also saw the convergence of our identities, which was so cool. This was honestly the coolest class ever. Shout out to Sophia Azeb who taught that class. She's the coolest person ever. Professor. My God. So basically ended up learning about Malcolm X and this book in that class. What that class did was like get me really interested in Islam from a socio-political standpoint. I wasn't interested in the scripture of Islam or like the contents of the religion or the Quran itself, but I was interested on the historical context and the social impact and the cultural impact that Islam had on our society. I was really interested in just learning about Islam from that regard. Zero interest really, or it didn't even occur to me to study Islam as a religion. It hadn't occurred to me to study any religion or to seek religion to any capacity at this point. So I was just became really, really interested in Islam from like, you know, an educational standpoint. So cool. Living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn at the time. And I just remember like I spent that whole summer after that class, after my senior year of college, like reading this book and just become increasingly more interested in Islam and just feeling a sense of belonging and understanding and commonality between the community that I grew up identifying with and like my identity as an Arab woman. Because like Islam, like it's the Arab religion, like religion is in Arabic. So, you know, and like my family was Muslim. So I started to feel like a lot more drawn to Islam at that point. I was like, okay, this is really cool. Like from a cultural standpoint, I really, really like Islam. Like I really want to learn how to embrace it more. But then, you know, I really didn't. And then at that point, I like moved back to Chicago after that summer. Kind of despite like God telling me to stay in New York. Like I really didn't have God, I couldn't really hear God at that point, but God spoke to me and then spoke through multiple people through me, trying to get me to stay in New York City after college. Because at the time I was working my dream internship. I was working for the hip hop photographer Jonathan Mannion, and he couldn't employ me full-time job. And I think the idea of making it and striving and surviving in New York at the time when I was 21 really scared me. And I was also really broken I had a really bad heartbreak that sent me back to Chicago. And I just couldn't hear God. Just ignored God's call. And God, when you ignore God and what he's telling you to do, it leads you to some really, really dark places. So with that, I packed up all my things and moved back to the south side of Chicago to live with my parents. Ugh, I'm triggered just talking about it. Not because of my parents, just because of my life and my experience there was so bad and so traumatic. And also, my justification was I wanted to pursue music, and everyone in New York at the time called me Maya Papaya, but I wanted to rename myself because I didn't really identify with like the persona that I had built. I was kind of a club kid, and all the club events I was hosting, I was like the straight girl in the queer community, and I think that they were waiting for me to come out as queer, and that was just like never gonna happen. And so I just felt like, you know, I was like in this community and like built this persona that I just didn't really truly resonate with. So I knew like if I went back to Chicago, at least I could reinvent myself. No one in Chicago really knew me, and then having gone to New York, you know, gave me like a lot of street cred, like really like developed my personality in a way that I was like, okay, like if I can run New York the way that I did, and conquer the way that I did, Chicago will be a piece of cake. So I went back to Chicago and like was really broken for a few months, literally crying in my mom's arms for like the first few months. Got some jobs, just really broken. The brokenness never really went away. Not only was I heartbroken, still like my self-worth with every rejection and every heartbreak, like my self-worth kept getting lower, and I kept thinking like it's my fault for not putting out, basically. Like maybe if I was more casual, I wouldn't have been like hurt and rejected so many times. So that was increasingly hurting my self-esteem, damaging me. And then on top of that, there was the heartbreak of abandoning my dreams and leaving New York, which is a heartbreak to this day. I think now that I'm in LA, I see why everything had to happen the way that it did. But I'm still like, nah, like I could have stayed. Like I still could have fought for my life. I think I would still be in LA right now if I had fought for my life in New York, like during that season. So that's just something that I have to accept and like live with. I still love New York every day. But so yeah, I was lost. Like I didn't have God. And I think I was just so desperate, like for love, like for a successful relationship at that point, because I was looking for God in these men. I was literally looking for God in like romantic relationships. Like I wanted God's love, and I wanted a man to give me God's love, and like he couldn't. And so that's what like led to the rejection, and like that's why the rejection and the pain was so severe. I felt like I was being rejected from God. Like I was making an idol of these men when they couldn't provide me with like this all-encompassing unconditional love. Like it broke me. Guys, that brokenness led me to some really, really dark places. I like just the darkest places ever. I remember I just feeling so like being 26 or 25 and like feeling like such a freak that I was still a virgin. I'm worthless. I hate myself so much because no man loves me. Like no man loves me enough to claim me. I love myself enough in all my brokenness to not just give myself to a man that won't claim me. So yeah, I was like increasingly broken and was like seeking to everybody for the answers to my brokenness, like looking for God in everybody, in family members, and got some really, really, really scary advice. People telling me to sell my virginity online. Just like scary advice. Like just do it. Like just like find someone and just do it. Just get it over with. Like this was just like the messaging that I got. Like this was like when I looked for people and like loved ones and like friends and family like advice, like it was like just stop, like just keep saving yourself, like just find a boyfriend, or just do it with some random person, or sell it. Okay, like basically that was the messaging that I was getting. So like I was just breaking more and more by the year, by the day, by the week, by the month, by the hour, like just breaking. My soul, my spirit, like broken, crushed. So fast forward to like I lost my virginity to in a non-consensual sexual experience, you know? And I thought, like, okay, like, if I do this, like, I'll finally feel worthy. Didn't, because that person was, like, a predator. And astaghfirullah, I think I'm finally, like, I've honestly sought so much repentance for that, that I think I'm, like, finally forgiving myself. So that happened, and then that, like, I just was broke. After that happened, like, I was broken in ways that I didn't even know it was possible to break. Like, I couldn't even, I would, like, had a really good job at the time. I was like a communications director at like a government office. My job was pretty cool. It was pretty prestigious. I cried every single day. Like, I was crying every single day. I did not even recognize myself. Like, I did not know who I was. Like, I had no sense of identity, no sense of purpose. Like, I gave up on my dreams in New York. Like, I gave up on photography. Music had been really, really difficult and tormenting. Like, Allah would not release music for me, and still fully hasn't released music for me. And y'all, I was just broken in ways that, like, I can't even, like, I was disgusted with myself. I was broken in ways that I just, so that brokenness led me to an individual named Christian. And I don't think he'll ever see this, but if he does, I hope he knows how grateful I am for him and how much love I have for him. Like, in my soul, that man to me is like an angel. I still look at him like an angel. So I met this boy named Christian, and he was not a Christian though. His name was just Christian. He was like half Puerto Rican, half Mexican, 100% sexy, and just like the sweetest guy that I had ever met. So I met him when I was like rock bottom of life. Oh my God, why am I sharing this with the internet? So I met him in like my ultimate rock bottom of life, and he was just like so sweet and disarming. And I actually like met him when I first started lifting weights. He worked at the gym that I went to. Astaghfirullah. So he worked at the gym, and I just remember being like, oh my God, I'm so grateful that this person works where I work out, because like I'm guaranteed to see him. Like, he can't ghost me. Guys, it's so sad. I love myself. I love this version of myself. Like, I have so much empathy for her. So Christian, he was really like forward and like, you know, like hitting on me and like, oh, like, you know, saying all the right things, and, you know, like really was like super loving towards me, was such a good friend to me. And I just like fell in love with him. Like, we fell deep into this intense, toxic love situation, soul tie, like very quickly. All of my brokenness, pretty much this man took on. And he, like, thank God for him, because he just like would listen to me talk. He was there for me, and he would like hold me. I would cry in his arms. Like, it was really toxic, you know? He was, I don't even know if he consented to the burden that I was in his life. He literally was part of his job, basically. Was I would come in, we would talk, and he just held space for me to be in my brokenness and didn't judge me, and loved me unconditionally somehow. But eventually that became too toxic to continue, so I cut him off. And literally as soon as I cut him off, I started getting all this Christian content on my timeline, all this like Christian, the religion content on my timeline, starting with R.C. Blake's on YouTube, who honestly I can attribute to saving me. His content literally saved my life. And the thing that stood out to me the most was in this Christian content was the concept of a virtuous woman. So a woman whose price is far above rubies, and describing all of the ways that a virtuous woman conducts herself. She doesn't provide value without price. She's virtuous. She has businesses. She's a woman of means. She's a woman of purpose. And, you know, most importantly, like, she doesn't lay down with men. She doesn't provide value without price. And, like, her price is the godly marital covenant. So her price is marriage. So learning about virtuous women changed my life forever. And I also loved it because my birthstone is ruby. So I was just like, oh, like, her price is far above rubies and virtuous women. So I was like, alhamdulillah, finally finding the truth. I finally was brought to the truth, and I saw that the virtuous woman in me, because I knew that the virtuous woman was always in me. It's the reason that I was unable to perform sexually and unable to, you know, participate in hookup culture and do all of these things that the world was telling me to do. So now finally I had something to strive to, and I had something like a, you know, something that I could hold myself up against in my healing. So I really started studying the Bible, particularly like women in the Bible and Ruth and Boaz and, you know, all of these women in the Bible. And yeah, it saved me in ways that I can't even believe, because during that season, like the Christian season, like the man Christian, like people because I was so broken before healing, and people just like the way the world tried to take advantage of me, and just like men, like I was just so lost. It's unreal. And it led me to like find like people taking advantage of me financially, because I thought that they were God, just seeking God in all the wrong places, and losing money, like losing my dignity, losing my virginity, like losing so many things because I just kept seeking God, and I didn't know that where he was or what it was or how to find him. So alhamdulillah, I had religion at this point. I had Christianity, which gave me so much confidence because, you know, I wanted to be a wife. I always wanted to be a wife. And, you know, I was getting to the age where like I just was like, okay, I'm ready to be a wife. But clearly a woman this broken can never be a wife. But having Christianity finally gave me all the tools that I needed to prepare to be a wife, and just gave me the knowledge and the wisdom to become a wife and to like ultimately have children and raise them and spare them from everything I went through, you know? So Christianity was just such a blessing, because even if I didn't really tell people like I was Christian, like finally I had the confidence to just be like, oh, I'm saving myself. Like when I was dating, like, oh, I'm saving myself. I would no longer enter these toxic situationships and entanglements where I guess I'll compromise and sleep with you if you like give me like love in return. No, now it was, I'm a woman of God. I'm gonna be saving myself till marriage. And I just felt really confident in that. I didn't really care what anyone thought. I was just like, I'm saving myself till marriage. Alhamdulillah. I have the language to talk about this. And I have God's word to like, I'm not crazy. I've never been crazy. I was always supposed to be saving myself for one man. And finally, I have the confidence to do that. So, of course, like, okay, I'm dating for marriage. And what demographic, though, like, am I dating? Like, do I want to date a Christian? I always knew I wanted to marry an Arab. Like, that was really important to me. So, like, okay, am I going to marry, like, a Christian Arab? Like, really, it's, like, Christian and Muslim Arabs are, like, the demographics. but I just knew that like there weren't that many Christian Arabs, okay? Like that just wasn't really like a prevalent demographic. That's a very, very small demographic of people. And yeah, and additionally, like I was Christian at this point, but I still had this like interest in Islam. Like I still had this pull to Islam. Like just culturally, Islam was to me just like cooler, and like I identified with the demographic of Muslims a lot more than I identified with the demographic of Christians. And like Islam had already done so much to help me find comfort and like peace and like validation in my identity as like an Arab American woman. Islam did that for me. But then Christianity saved like this other side of me that was so broken. So I was like dating, whatever. I wasn't even really dating, to be honest. I was just like thinking about it, thinking about marriage, preparing to be a wife in my singleness by studying the Bible and just trying to become a virtuous woman and develop myself. And I took a lot of business courses and was just like healing. Like I was on a super healing journey, and Christianity was like the thing that started it. And then I kind of was led into like this world of online business and online feminine energy content to heal me and teach me meditation. And yeah, so I was like, okay, maybe I'm ready to start dating for marriage. So God had told me that try dating Muslim men, because I think you're gonna resonate with Muslim men more than you are resonating with just Arab men in general. And it'll just be up your alley, because they're gonna have those religious views that are similar to your Christian experiences. Like they're gonna respect the fact that you're saving yourself and whatever. So I got on like some Muslim dating apps, like I think Muzmatch and Salams, and instantly I felt like something clicked. Okay, Muslim men though, like they get me. Like they have there's something about them that I am attracted to and I resonate with. And it's just, there's an intensity. There's a certain intensity about Muslim men and like a realisticness, you know, like a grit that I feel like Muslim men just don't have, Christian men just don't have. Like my dad is not really like the gritty one. Like my mom was like the gritty woman who'd been through some shit. And so I identified with her more in that respect, because I just feel like I had been through a lot. I had been like dragged through the mud. I'm an intense person. My life has not been easy. I would talk to like Christian or like non-religious, like Arabs, like there was just something about Muslim men, like the way that they tested me and challenged me and pushed me was something that I was very, very drawn to, because I like a challenge. And obviously I'm looking for a man that's going to lead me. And so much of leadership is challenge, pain, and suffering. And for some reason, Muslim men just had that for me. They pushed me, they challenged me in every single conversation that I had. It was like some really challenging, interesting conversation. And I was like, okay, so I guess I'm meant to be with a Muslim man. Like, cool. That's really exciting for me, because I want more access to Islam. I want to be part of the Muslim community. As much as I love Christianity as a religion, I don't identify with the community around Christianity. There's a lot of evangelical Christian Zionists, and there's a lot of like Christian Black people, and there's a lot of Christian white people, all of whom are not people that I speak the same language as or am embraced by and or fully relate to. So I was like, okay, bet. Let me just date these Muslim men, continue studying Christianity, whatever. And then God kept telling me my husband was in LA anyway. So I was like, okay, I know I have to move to LA. I don't really know like what is gonna happen. But I just like, the more I healed, like the closer I felt to like, finding my match. So I moved to LA, and alhamdulillah, like I have a lot of family in LA. So when I moved here, I started going to this Lebanese church, and it was like this, it's like this amazing this amazing Maronite church in Beverly Hills, and it's literally paradise. Like the first time I walked in there, it literally felt like I was in heaven, because it was just all really beautiful, well-dressed Lebanese people. And I think they were having a ceremony that day, and it was a banquet of like all this Arabic food and like all these Lebanese people. But I started going to church every week, and I just felt like I would literally be at church like, Allahu Akbar. Like I just felt like I was a Muslim. Like I was at church, and like I love Jesus, and I'm so grateful for everything Christianity had done for me, but it just didn't fully resonate in my soul. Like I could never, at no point in this journey did I ever really confidently say that I was a Christian or tell people that I was a Christian. I just was, but I didn't tell people. So yeah, like I was like going to church, and then it was like Ramadan. 1 month after I moved to LA, it was Ramadan. So something like God told me to fast. At this point, I was hearing God's voice pretty clearly, and he had told me to fast for Ramadan. And I was taking a singing class at the time, so I didn't want to do a dry fast. So I decided to do a wet fast. And y'all, the experience of fasting for Ramadan in 2024 was like the craziest experience of my life. I felt so connected to God. Like if I thought I had God before, like I had him enough to move to LA because he told me to move to LA, and I had him enough to answer his commands and just listen to the voice that was in my head. But when I fasted for Ramadan, I felt so close to Allah. I felt so blessed. I felt so magical. I felt so divinely connected. I literally felt like I was high that month. Like I couldn't even, it was the most insane experience of my life. The way that I would pray, the way that I would hear audibly from Allah was something that I had never experienced before. Like Ramadan 2024 was the most life-changing experience, hands down, of my entire life, I think. So I was really grateful that I had like followed that call to fast. It was literally like the day of the start of Ramadan, I decided to fast for Ramadan. So that was amazing. Allah really used that opportunity to get so close to me, strengthen and reinforce my faith, and plant the seeds for ultimately becoming a Muslim. So I spent the rest of the year just like, okay, I'm clearly a Muslim. Like I have this intense draw to Islam. So many promises were placed on me during that month of Ramadan, and so many prayers that I made were during the month of Ramadan as a Muslim. Laylatul Qadr. I prayed so hard during the last 10 days of Ramadan last year. Like I almost like went crazy. I haven't even prayed that hard this year. I have been feeling pretty off my game the last 10 days of Ramadan this year. But last year, oh my God, I was praying. Somebody had given me, one of my friends had given me Zamzam water that her brother had brought back from Mecca. And I was like drinking that every day when I prayed, like just, oh my gosh, I think the prayers I made on Laylatul Qadr last year were so intense. So yeah, I felt like that Ramadan just changed my life so immensely. And I spent, what still was stopping me though was like I started to try to read the Quran last year, and every time I read it, it just felt really prickly. I couldn't get into it. Like it just felt really harsh. It felt like it was always talking about Allah's wrath on unbelievers. And I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely not perfect. So like, it just scared me. I just didn't understand this book. I didn't understand its beauty. I didn't understand its magic. So this year, I started reading the Quran a lot more. Like, okay, like 2025 is here. Let me read the Quran and like just try to push past this resistance and fear of the Quran and just like really try to understand what Allah is trying to say to me through this book. So I started reading it, and then I also started watching a lot of Muslim revert content, like why people reverted, and getting more into finding more Muslim content online. And I think just one day, like something just switched in me like a light bulb that, okay, like I'm a Muslim now. Like I believe this book is the truth. I believe this is the truth in every way, and I want to fully commit myself fully to this faith. I don't believe that I am a Christian any longer. Like this book has everything I need. This book is all encompassing. So I was like, okay, bet I'm ready to become a Muslim. How do I do that? Researching, how do I become a Muslim? So I found that to become a Muslim, you just have to take the Shahada, which is Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And when I found that out, I was like, oh my God, like this is all you have to do to become a Muslim is like take Shahada. Because actually in December, I had been at a community event and I told these guys in my community who I knew were Muslim that I wanted to revert. And literally one of them just had me take Shahada like on the spot, okay? Like had me recite the Shahada on the spot. I meant it. I was like fully presently in that moment, but I didn't know that that's all you had to do to become a Muslim. Like I figured there was like a whole ceremony, like a whole thing, like a sheikh had to witness it. So I guess I took Shahada like about 2 months before I really decided that I want to become a Muslim. And so like I took it again a few times, like in front of my cousins, in front of my family. And like my cousin Elisar gave me this Quran for Ramadan this year as a gift, and it's so like near and dear to me. She knew I wanted a pink one. So yeah, the other night we actually went. I'm so grateful. My family in LA, I have these cousins that are my age, and like my aunt and her husband, and they're like on my mom's side Muslim, and they're very devout Muslims. So they've just been helping me with this transition and just like inviting me over for iftar multiple times over this past month. And you know, we just like we'll have iftar, and then afterwards we'll just like sit around and I can ask them questions about the Quran. And I just feel like I have everything that I've ever needed and wanted. I'm wearing this abaya, and I just feel the abaya and the like Muslim fashion is what I've been looking for. Episode 10 of Soul Diva Confessions, I was talking about how I want to become more modest in my way of dress, and I feel that Islam is helping me do that so seamlessly. The only thing is I'm 5'1", and all the abayas are like for girls that are way taller. So that's difficult. But so yeah, I am a Muslim now, and I've never felt more like myself, and I've never been more invested. Like I'm reading this book now, at least reading one surah a day over Ramadan, and I'm just really starting to go to this book for everything that I need. And if sometimes I'll go to ChatGPT and ask it to tell me which surah will help me solve a particular issue that I'm having in my life. And you know, I'm never gonna be a perfect Muslim. I'm still me. I'm still just a girl in the world. And you know, I went to the masjid with my cousins the other night, and we literally spent the entire night at the masjid, like from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. in prayer, listening to dua, I learned how to pray. And, you know, but I spent the whole night praying and wearing hijab, but at the end of the night, I still got in my car, took my hijab off, and played Drake and like drove 80 on the highway all the way home, you know? So there's part of me that in my reverting to Islam is afraid of losing myself. And like that worldly, the parts of me, the worldly part of myself that makes me who I am, I don't ever want to lose that. And if some of that is haram, it's kind of just, so be it. But I'm just so grateful that I have Islam now, because it's something that I can always strive to grow in. It's a knowledge, it's an education, it's a faith, it's a deen that I can always strive to become stronger and more resilient and more powerful and more committed and devoted in. So that's my story, and I hope it resonates with somebody, and I hope it helps somebody come to religion, or just helps them come to purity at the very least, because I think it was the lack of purity that was the most damaging for me. The world telling me to give up my purity was the most damaging element of just being a woman without faith. So I hope this resonates with someone, and I love you, and Ramadan Mubarak, Eid Mubarak. Eid is in 3 short days, so yeah, I love you guys. Make sure to subscribe and share this video, and hit the like button so people that need to see this get to see this.